morning children, this is Vijay, biology lecturer from Alaba Junior College. So as we are discussing the NEET series in detail, so in that category first we are going to discuss about the NEET Biology Unit 1 Living World. This particular lesson we have explained in detail. These videos are there, the previous videos you can see. And today we are going to discuss most important points and concepts which are related to this living world in detail. In that category, first we are going to discuss about science, the meaning, the definition of science. So science is nothing but it is a Latin word which is derived from scientia. So scientia is nothing but gaining of knowledge from the observation of different experiments to be conducted. So that is the definition for science. So biology is a branch of science which deals with the living organism. Actually the biology, if you split the word biology into bio and logos, it is a word, Greek word which derived from, and bio which stands for the living organism and logos which stands for studying about. So biology is nothing but biologos or studying about the living organisms. This biology further divided into two major categories, like one is said to be botany, the other one is said to be zoology. This botany, which is also termed as Pathology, which stands for, it's a Greek word, phyto, which stands for plants, and logos, studying about different types of plants, that is said to be Pathology. These science broadly divided into these two categories, botany and zoology. So there are many other specific areas or different applied sciences which are derived from this biological science. Let us see one by one. Before that, we would like to discuss about these important points, like Aristotle in the year 384 and 322 in between, he is considered to be the father of biology or father of science or father of zoology, because he was the first historical trace evidence for observing the different kind of observations for conducting the different experiments in the earlier period. And there are two major important scientists like Lamarck and Gottfried in the year 1744 and 1829 in between. They were first who coined the term biology. And already we know about there are two categories like botany and zoology. Then the botany, the branch of science which was first termed by Theocritus, and also he is considered to be the father of botany or father of Pathology. Now let us see the different specific branches or the sub branches of this biological science. Like microbiology, it is a branch of science which deals with the different type of microorganisms. We will discuss in detail in unit number 2 the different diversity of living organism, especially microorganisms like bacteria, fungus, virus, algae. So that it is a branch of science which deals with. Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who is considered to be father of microbiology, and also he could able to build his own microscope. So the development of microscope are also one of the contributions by this Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Also he is said to be the father of microscope. When we are talking about the branch of science that is anatomy, this deals with the different features, physical properties which are present internal or inside of the body. So we are discussing about the internal organs in detail about a human being or a plants or animals in detail, that deals with anatomy. And there are one more branch of science which is said to be physiology. Physiology also similar to this anatomy, where in physiology we are discussing about the different functions of the internal organs, where in anatomy we are studying about only the structure of the internal organs. And next we are going to discuss about biochemistry. It is also a branch of science which deals with the chemical substances or the chemical compositions which are related to the living matter, like the chemical composition, its nature and mode of formation, and how it is functioning in the living organism, that deals with this biochemistry. Then when we are talking about pathology, pathology is also a branch of science which deals with the different type of pathogens. Pathogens are the organism which could able to causes many infections or diseases to the human being, like few microorganisms like bacteria, virus and fungi. When we are discussing about the cytology, cytology is a branch of science which deals with the structure of cell and the division of cell. Again, in the cell division, there are two categories of cell division we will discuss. One is mitosis cell division and meiosis cell division in detail. And this cytology involves for the cell structure and the development of cell and the growth of the cell in detail. Then when we are talking about this ecology, so ecology is a branch of science which deals with the relationship between the living organism to the environment, how far the living organisms are interacting with the environment or the environmental factors. So that is a branch of science which deals with ecology. Then when we are talking about this embryology, embryology is nothing but studying about the fetus or the growth and the development of the embryo, like in a human being or in plants or in animals. We will discuss in detail about embryology. So evolution is nothing but it is a branch of science which deals with the origin of life, or if we are going to discuss about a particular species and its origin, that we could express it in evolution. It's a branch of science. Then when we are talking about endocrinology, there are two type of glands which are present in our body. In human physiology we will discuss in detail, like senior level biological science. Our body, there are two different types of glands which are present. One is said to be endocrine glands, the other one is said to be exocrine glands. So exocrine glands which are related to glands which are secreted outside of the body, like sebaceous gland, sweat gland, tears. So these all could be the example for exocrine gland. When we are talking about this endocrine gland, we are going to discuss about the major important glands and its nature, structure, and also what type of hormones which is secrete, and that hormones how good it is helping for the living organism. In detail we are discussing in endocrinology. Say for example like pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal gland. So these all are the few examples for these endocrine glands. When we are talking about this histology, histology is a branch of science which deals with studying about tissue and the different type of tissue. There are different type of variety of tissues we could able to see in the living organism, especially in plants, animals and human being. There are variety of tissues we could able to see. So that branch of science which deals with histology. Like in plants we can discuss about xylem, phloem. These all are few examples for the tissues. Parenchyma, sclerenchyma. So these all are the few examples, like tracheids. So these all are the examples for the plant tissues. Whereas when we are talking about the animal tissues like blood tissues, bone tissues, muscles, we can discuss in different kind of muscles, that all related to this branch of science which deals with. When we are talking about this osteology, so osteology related to the structure and function of skeletal system in our body. So that is a branch of science which deals with osteology. When we are talking about arthrology, it is a branch of science which deals with the different kind of joints, cartilages, tendons, and its effect we will discuss in detail in arthrology, especially joints. And when we are talking about morphology, morphology is nothing but it is the branch of science which deals with the external features. Whereas we have discussed anatomy and physiology, there we are discussing about the internal features of living organism, where in morphology we are discussing about the external features of the living organism, whether it may be a plant, animal or human being. Then when we are talking about this limnology, limnology is a branch of science which discuss in detail about the water bodies. There are different kind of water bodies, freshwater bodies and marine water bodies. Especially we are discussing about freshwater bodies, that is nothing but limnology. There are different layers of freshwater ecosystem. When we are discussing in the ecosystem, this branch of science will be helpful. Then paleontology. Paleontology is a branch of science which deals with fossils of decreases, say for example like plants or animal bones, animal decreases could be able to help for to study about the particular species in detail in paleontology. Actually, when we are talking about this paleontology, Leonardo da Vinci and his different diagrams and carvings which are related to this paleontology, and he could able to express in detail about internal organs and external features in detail. And next we are discussing about radiobiology. So this is a branch of science which deals with how far the radioactive substances which could able to give the effect to the living organism, like especially radioisotope, different type of radioisotopes, and that could able to give the beneficial effect and the harmful effect for the living organism. That branch of science which deals with radiobiology. Then when we are talking about taxonomy, taxonomy is a branch of science which deals with the systematics and classification of living organism. How good the organism could be classified in detail, and category this organism should be placed, and there are different aspects related to this taxonomic classification of living organisms. Then when we are talking about zoopathology, pathology is nothing but it's a branch of science which deals with the pathogens, especially microorganisms, like certain harmful microorganisms are pathogen which could able to give diseases to the human being or the animals. So especially when we are discussing about zoopathology, this pathology related to the different infections or the diseases caused by the different kind of microorganisms in for animals we are discussing about. Then when we are talking about agriculture, so this branch of science which deals with the farming of different kind of crops and also different kind of techniques which we are using for the growth and cultivation of different kind of plant species. Under this category there are different sub branches like sericulture, apiculture, aquatic culture, like pearl culture. We are discussing in detail about different kind of branches. Like sericulture is a branch of science which deals with the rearing of silk moth and also collecting the silk thread from the silk moth. So that is a branch of science which deals with. Apiculture stands for the rearing of honeybees that could able to give the extract of honey and nectar. So that is about this apiculture. When we are talking about this anthology, anthology is a branch of science which deals with the different type of flowers. There are different type of flowers. Actually, under this category of gymnosperm and angiosperm, the flowering plants, the flowering plants could able to form different varieties of flower in different species. So we are discussing about the different type of flowers in detail about anthology. Likewise in pomology, that deals with again angiosperm and also a few gymnosperm examples, like different type of fruits when we are talking about, which are bearing from the different varieties of plants. And when we are talking about this bacteriology, virology and mycology, these all are the sub branches which we could extract from this microbiology. When we are talking about this microbiology, we are studying about different type of microorganism. So likewise discussing about bacteria, that is said to be bacteriology. Discussing about viruses and bacteriophages, that is one of the vector, T4 bacteria page. So this, when we are talking about this mycology, like studying about fungus, so this all comprises this microbiology, sub branches. And bryology which deals with bryophytes, this also a branch of science which we are getting extract from this phytology. And these all are the individual organ studies. Say for example like cardiology, studying about heart and its function and circulatory system and coronary related diseases, coronary artery infections, coronary artery diseases, that all deals with cardiology. Then when we are talking about dermatology, so dermatology deals with the skin which is covered the entire body, and here in animals dermatology which is quite different from the human being, which is covered with fur and flappers, that we will discuss in detail in different ecosystem level, like that is said to be dermatology, which deals with the studying about skin, its structure and infections related to. When we are discussing about skin, there are different layers of skin. Now epithelial layer, endothelial layer, mesothelial layer, that we will discuss in dermatology. When we are talking about ethnology, ethnology is a branch of science which deals with the different race of human being. So there are different race of human beings that deals with ethnology. And next, when we are discussing about gerontology, that is a branch of science which deals with how we are reaching to the old age, or how we are getting to be matured in detail about this gerontology. And when we are discussing about this gynecology, it is a branch of science which deals with the female reproductive organ in detail, and also the welfare of the fetus and embryo in detail. Next, hematology. Hematology is a branch of science which deals with human blood, the composition of the blood, and the blood contains different type of cells and blood tissues. All we are discussing under this category, hematology. Likewise, serology. Serology which deals with studying about serum, lymphatic organs, that deals with in serology. Like hepatology. Hepatology is a branch of science which deals with the structure and malfunction or the functions of this liver, human liver, and gallbladder, and secretion of bilirubin or the bile juice, that we are discussing under this category of hepatology. When we are talking about this molecular biology or genetic engineering, this is a advanced branch of biological science which deals with the molecular level of the category, like RNA and DNA, its synthesis, RNA synthesis, DNA synthesis, and replications in detail, replicate how good it is getting to be replicated, that all we are discussing under this category, molecular biology. Next, when we are talking about myology and mycology, both are different. So mycology, which deals with structure of fungus and its diversity, beneficial effect and harmful effect in detail, we are discussing in mycology. Whereas in myology is studying about human muscles. There are different type of muscles, striated muscles, unstriated muscles. So we are discussing in detail in myology. Likewise, neurology, it's a branch of science which deals with the entire nervous system, brain, spinal cord, spinal nerves, and cranial nerves, the nerves, spinal nerves which are arising from spinal cord. In detail we are discussing in neurology. Likewise, nephrology, it is a branch of science which deals with the entire excretory system, like kidney and its function, how good osmoregulation takes place, and body temperature, how good it maintained, and structure of kidney, ureter, bladder. In detail we will discuss in nephrology related to glucose level in human blood. When we are discussing about this oncology is a branch of science which deals with external or outer growth of the body, like tumors. So it might be the tumors might be internal of the body, or it might be external of the body. So this branch of science which deals with how these tumor cells are formed and how good we go for the treatment of removing these tumor cells in detail. Then Oology is a branch which deals with studying about egg or ovum. In plants we will discuss in detail sexual reproduction, and in animals also we will discuss in detail about this category. Next, ornithology. Ornithology is a branch of science which deals with studying about the diversity of different type of birds. So aves, particularly we are discussing about aves. There are two major categories like flightless birds, flight birds. So this we will discuss in detail in ornithology. When comes under this category like serpentology, it is a branch of science which deals with studying about different type of snakes. So there we are discussing about venomous snakes and non-venomous snake, poisonous and non-poisonous. Like termitology is a branch of science which deals with the termites and ticks. So this one of the example. And toxicology is a branch of science which deals with the toxic substances, especially usage of some drugs or the chemicals, and how good it could able to give the effectiveness to the human body, plants or the animals. That is about toxicology. We will discuss in detail. This in plants, like usage of excess of fertilizers, excess of pesticides. These all comes under certain chemicals which are toxic to the growth of different type of plants. So that is about the toxicology. So these all are the few or different specific areas of biological science and science. Now let us see, we will discuss few father of science which is related to, in which area or the category they are related to. Let us see one by one. So when we are discussing about this the science, the father of science, which is designated as Aristotle, he is also considered to be the father of zoology, he is also considered to be the father of biology. Okay, when we are talking about the term which is coined by biology, that is Lamarck and Gottfried, and Theocritus, who is considered to be the father of botany or the phytology, and John Graham Mendel, we know about him in detail, we have studied in the 10th standard, he is considered to be the father of genetics. When we are discussing about eugenics, Francis Galton, who is considered to be the father of eugenics. And when we are talking about the mutation, different type of mutation which could takes place related to the genetic mutation, our cell. So this genetic mutation or the mutation, who is considered to be the father, Hugo de Vries, he is said to be the father of mutation or genetic mutation. And when we are talking about this paleontology, again we have discussed in detail, studying about the fossils of plants and animals, where Leonardo da Vinci, who is considered to be the father of paleontology. Like taxonomy, we have discussed in detail, classification of the different variety of plants and animals. And this taxonomy, the father of the taxonomy, who is said to be the Carolus Linnaeus, he is also gave the contribution for binomial nomenclature, we will discuss in detail. Next, when we are talking about blood groups, human blood groups, so these blood groups which are contribution of this discovery of blood groups, that leads to Karl Landsteiner, who is said to be the father of blood groups, human blood groups. Whereas the blood circulation of our body by William Harvey, and he is said to be the father of blood circulation. Like we have discussed the genetics about the genetics in detail. The John Graham Mendel, who is said to be the father of genetics, whereas modern genetics, that credit goes for William Bateson, so who is said to be the father of modern genetics. Medicine or medicinal plants, Theocritus, who is said to be the father of medicine, or who is said to be the father of medicinal plants. Likewise, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, who is considered to be the father of microbiology as well as father of microscope, building of different type of microscopes. And Edward Jenner, who is considered to be the father of immunology, which is related to the different discovery of vaccines. For the vaccine for smallpox and chickenpox, these all contributions by Edward Jenner. So these all are the very, very important terms to be remembered, like the meaning of science and the contributions of different scientists. Yes, so far we have discussed in detail about the most important concept and the most important terms which are related to Unit 1 Living World in detail. So this video we will continue with one more topic related to this same unit with some more few important points and some more few important terms in detail. Until then, thank you guys.